everybody. This is Old Bear's Den of Bigfoot again, and we have another story for you coming out of North Carolina. One of our members on our Discord, she lives in North Carolina, and it's not too far from her home, so she's a little anxious about this one. Anyway, I would like to thank, I'm going to give these people just their first initial or their first names. I want to thank them for calling me yesterday evening and relaying to me their story of what they found and sending me a couple of short video clips of what they found. Neither one of them hunt. They just happened to be out. A father and daughter happened to go out finding morel mushrooms and came across some evidence that they sent to me. I will be in contact with them this week to gain their permission to put those videos up on the internet. Their names will stay out of it. But I want to thank T and A for their story this week that they called and talked to me on the phone with for at length last night, and I thank them for calling me and letting me to help them out. Anyway, this story comes out of Waynesville area of North Carolina, down there in the Cherokee National Forest, actually where it comes from. And we're going to get started with it. This gentleman that I spoke to, he is a truck driver, and he will know who it is. We actually ran into each other. And when I say ran into each other, I mean we ran into each other. He was coming out the door and I was going in, wasn't paying attention, and almost ran over top of him. Anyway, he lives down there in that area, and he deer hunts down there. Anyway, he deer hunts down there in Cherokee National Forest, and he's got a pretty nice place that he likes to hunt. And it's actually, he hunts off from two separate ridges. One is a fairly open ridge with a lot of oaks and beech and hickory and all the stuff that deer love to eat. And he likes to shoot big deer. Big bucks, to be precise. So at the beginning of August, he went up and put out 3 game cams. He left them alone for 2 weeks as he was busy at work and doing stuff at home. Didn't have time to go look at the pictures. Anyway, he happened to be home on a weekend, and he took off on a Saturday morning. Went up there to look at the pictures, and he took him a little backpack he carries a small laptop in it, and he looks at the pictures on it to see what kind of deer are passing before the cameras. He went to the first camera, walked up the mountainside, got to the top of the ridge, and there's a big oak flat on top of that ridge. And there was a bunch of oak that were producing acorns up there this year. And he said they were just full of acorns. He got some pictures of some does, a bunch of different does, and a few young bucks. He said nothing, older than 3 years old. He could tell by the face of the deer and everything else to know their age. Anyway, he went through that. He went through all the pictures. He said there was over 200 pictures that he had taken. And he put in a new memory card and was looking at the pictures. And so he took the memory card out of the laptop, shut the laptop down, and decided he was going to walk down across the holler and up the other hillside, which the other camera was about 3/4 of the way up the hillside. And he went and done that. He got to the second one, checked the camera out, put a new memory card in, went through the pictures. He said like he had 140, 150 pictures. And his third camera was out on the end of that point because it's a brushy area. And he had the problem of, he didn't want to go in that area to leave scent because it was very brushy. And he knew that if it scraped against the clothes, it would leave human scent there. But he just had to go check the camera out and put a new memory card in it. So he got down there, and on his way down there to that point, there was a sound that he said sounded like someone took a Louisville Slugger baseball bat, wooden baseball bat, and hit a grand slam home run, 500 feet long grand slam. He said it was that loud. So, it was just one single wood knock. And it bothered him a little bit because he really didn't know what it was. But, he went on to go check his cameras. He said, just no big deal. You just go on and do what you got to do and he'll get out of there. So he went down there and got in the brush where the camera was at. It covered over 3 trails coming up the face of the mountain. They come together right there. And then there was one main trail that went back out to the top of the ridge where they could lay up and during the day. And so he went through he changed out the memory card in that camera and decided he was just going to walk straight over the hill down the end of the point. And when he gets to the bottom of the hill, there is a field that starts about 50 yards from the bottom of the hill. And he turned right to go back across the little creek in the hollow that he had to cross when he come off the first ridge. And it goes back around the end of that point of that ridge and goes back around. He's not too far from his truck from that point. So as he gets through the creek, and then he goes through the creek and then gets back up on the other side and goes to the end of that point, he is standing there and he hears something walking up on the face of the point. He was hoping to see a deer, a buck or something, to get an idea of, if maybe he should put a camera up there and look for him. Anyway, he's looking and he sees movement. And he said the movement looked like an arm that moved. Probably no more than 70 yards away. And the guy had no game cams with him, just had the laptop and the memory cards and a couple of bottles of water that he'd already drank. Well, he drank. After he saw this, he kept watching, and finally this thing moved into an opening and stopped and turned and looked right dead at him. He said he could see the front of it, and it looked like a woman or a female because it had breasts on it. And he's standing there looking at it for a few seconds, and then he hears a growl, a real deep growl. Sound like it come from the pits of hell is what his description was. That was now to his back. He slowly turned around and saw this big, 9-foot tall, huge looking gorilla standing there staring at him that made the growl. Well, this thing just nonchalantly walks out of the brush into the trail that he's standing on, out probably 20, 30 feet from him, no more than about 10 yards is what he told me. And it stops, turns, looks at him, growls, and then turns back, and then just walks right on up through the brush, right on up there to where that female was standing. He said he could follow it by all the noise that it was making as it was walking because it was dry. And it got up there with the female, and both of them turned and walked out of sight. Well, at this point, he was definitely affected. So he starts heading out the path to get back to his truck. Well, there's another little dip he had to cross, and when he stepped up out of that dip, a limb off a tree was thrown and landed right in the trail where he was on, in front of him, probably 5-10 feet. Well, this scared him to death. At this point, he's already seen 2 Bigfoot. He's not sure about what he saw, and he decides he's going to make the trip to the pickup as short as he can. Gets in his pickup, goes home, gets home, tells his wife what happened, and his wife laughs at him and says, "Oh, you're just full of it. You know what you're talking about. You know, there's no such thing as what you described in the woods." He just kind of looked at her and said, "Okay, honey, whatever." So after she questioned him a little bit, she said, "Well, fine, we'll go back up there tomorrow," because he told her, "I ain't going to go hunting in there this year. I'm going to have to figure out how to get my cameras out of there so I can put them somewhere else where I can hunt." And she says, "Well, we'll go back tomorrow. I'll go with you. I'll protect you." You know, being Miss Thing. And here's the funny part. They go get the first game camera, don't hear a thing, don't see nothing, not at all. They get over to the second game camera. They get the game camera off the tree and it's turned to go pick up the third game camera. And there's 2 loud wood knocks like the day before. Except the only difference is today there's 2 of them. So that means that the Bigfoot know that both of them are there. And he kind of looks at his wife, who is perplexed, and is asking, "What in the heck is that?" And he's like, "Honey, those are wood knocks. I told you what I heard. You didn't believe me. Now do you believe me?" She said, "Oh, well, that's just probably some acorns or something dropping and hitting a log or tree or something that's fell." And so they go out to get the third camera. They get out there to get the third camera. Nothing else happens. They go off the end of the point like he did the day before, walk back the path, get back to this almost exact same place he saw the Bigfoot, and he's pointing to the area to his wife out, pointing out to his wife where he saw the female that was going up the hill, and they're, chit-chatting a little bit about it, and out steps Mr. Alpha male. He says, "Honey, turn around." She turns around and kind of gasps, and he says, "Don't scream and don't run." This big alpha just stands there, looks at him, growls, walks off up the hill. They go home. They get a little ways past the end of the point there, and both of them take off running to the truck. He takes the back position of the to protect his wife from behind, and his wife is just scared to death. Anyway, they get in the truck, they leave, and they had to turn around. And while they were coming out, there was stuff flying in from the side of the mountain. And he said it wasn't acorns falling out of the trees, it was rocks being thrown at them. to scare them off and keep them going. So they get home, and she's like, "You're never going hunting up there again." She's adamant about it for about 2 weeks, and he's at work one day, and he blurts out what happened to him, and 2 or 3 of his buddies that he hunts with and goes hunting with, and they talk about they got like a competition that they want to show off the biggest buck. Tells them what happens. Well, one of his buddies says, "You're full of it," and he tells him where the place is at, tells him where the cameras are at, were placed, and his buddy goes in there, and he just walks around the end of the points. He walks in around the first point, goes out to the second point. He don't find no tracks, no nothing that shows anything of a Bigfoot. Well, the ground's been hard all summer long. They had rain early, and they had rain after that. They just recently had, rain from the hurricane that went through here at the beginning of September. So that's the only rain that they'd had for about 2 months, basically. Ground was hard, didn't leave any tracks, couldn't find anything. Well, the guy turns around and starts back out of there. He gets across the creek, steps up out of the creek, and the big one's standing there looking at him. This guy pretty much loses control of his bladder because it scared him so bad. The Bigfoot looked at him. This is what his buddy relayed to him. He said, "The Bigfoot looked at me, looked down, then looked back at me and kind of went," and it took off walking up the hill. He said, as soon as it took off, my buddy just took off running at a dead run to get back to his truck. He got back to his truck, got home, called his buddy, said, you weren't lying. I went up there and looked around, and I ran into that big one. And he told him everything that happened. Told him that he wet himself. And so that's the experience from that one. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to invite you to come in on Saturday nights. This coming Saturday night, there will be no Discord due to the fact that me and my wife have been invited to an outing. And we will be at that outing, and hopefully we will get some stories to put on here for you guys. Hopefully that you get the first-hand accounts. And we hope you enjoy this video. And if you see a Bigfoot in this video, let me know. We're looking across from my driveway right now, and I suspect that is where some of the Bigfoot are hanging out. On that piece of property. And if you see one, let me know, please. We thank y'all for listening. And we hope you enjoyed the video. So everyone have a blessed day. And this will be up hopefully today. Thank you all, and tune in again. Bye-bye.